Hi, Jack Canfield here. We're back with Talking About Success. My next guest is Harinder Singh. You're an amazing being. I'm going to read this because I can't memorize it all. It says, a teacher of military, special forces, secret service, SWAT, and over 100 law enforcement agencies around the globe. I feel safe when I'm with you for some reason. He's a 23rd generation Tai Chi master and official representative of Bruce Lee's martial arts legacy. Bruce Lee was a big hero to me,
Yes, sir.
not just because of his martial arts, but because of his consciousness.
Yes.
So wonderful to have you here. You specialize in something called high performance state.
Yes.
And you're the author of a new book, which I love because I've been reading it, called Mind Boxing, How to Win the War Within. So really boxing with the inner demons within ourselves,
Yes.
coming to be more profound. So how did you get involved with the Special Forces, the Secret Service, SWAT teams? That's really an interesting story.
Yeah, well, I was an engineer once upon a time in the Silicon Valley. When I graduated from college, I got into a really crazy incident. We were at a bonfire and celebrating, and pretty much, long story short, a street gang came out of nowhere, and pretty much we were beaten almost to a pulp. And it was a divine intervention. The guys that we're looking for actually walked by, and they kind of jumped on them, and we were saved. We got out of there.
You could have been killed.
I pretty much was about to be killed. It was that kind of route that it was headed towards. And that really started to make me think, hey, what's going on here? How did this happen? How did I get in this situation? I had been in martial arts my whole life up until that point. So I thought I knew what I was doing. I already had a black belt in karate. I had been in a few street fights, so it wasn't like this was like something brand new. I had already won a few karate championships in Toronto where I grew up as a kid. So I thought I knew what was going on. But this was chaos. This was complete chaos. It was war, it was formations, it was people not giving a damn about anybody else. People just wanting to cause harm to other people because they were on drugs and out of it, just searching for victims. And sometimes we find ourselves in those situations and they're tipping points. And that set me off on this journey that I'm gonna find the best masters in the world, and I was angry, Jack. You get beaten like that, you feel shameful inside, you feel angry inside, you feel hurt inside that somebody did that to you, and it kind of kicked me off on this trip to go find the best masters in the world, and I trained with them, and one of them was trained in Navy SEALs. And he was one of the first people as a civilian taken in to train them in the early 80s. I became his disciple, then eventually took over for him, and that's how I started training them, and for the last 8 years, that's what I've been doing.
Wow. So talk about Mind Boxing. This is your new book. It's a great,
Yes.
I love the name of it. How did that come to be and what's it about?
Well, we all have this enemy within, man, this voice that tells us what we can and we can't do. And that's the thing that stops us from everything. It's the thing that stops us from being this unlimited potential that we have inside and letting it out. You see, for the people I work with, there is no time to think. Because if they're thinking, they're not in the moment, they're not acting. When bullets are flying by your head, there's just no time to think. You can only be and you can only act. So if your mind is in the future, worrying about what's going to happen, or you're stuck in the past, worrying about something that already happened, you're not here and there's no processing power. Now, whether we're in a combat situation like that with my SEALs, or I'm hugging my son, it's the same thing. I could be worrying about my meeting tomorrow that I have to give, or I could be worried about some client I lost yesterday, and I'm hugging my son. So what kind of version of myself am I bringing? So I realized that you can either be in a state of thinking, or you could be in this, what I call the high performance zone. The high performance zone is this place of heightened states of attention and awareness. It's this place where there's no thinking, there's no thought. It's a place where time actually starts to slow down. It's so cool, this feeling. And that's where you really get to release your attributes of adaptability. Adaptability is the thing where, okay, we're in a crisis situation. I have to be able to adapt to my environment. Bruce Lee used to say, empty your mind, be formless, shapeless like water. Because water can adapt, because water can flow. Water can crash. If you put water into a cup, it becomes a cup. You put water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. So it's limitless. It keeps changing because I can't control my enemy. I can't control the environment. I can't control the crisis. All I can control is me in that moment, how I adjust to it. Similarly, also this high performance zone is needed for connectivity. How I connect to my son, and then also how I connect to my opponent. And this is how I learned. I learned this stuff the backwards way, from the martial arts side. I brought it into my regular life. I learned about sensitivity from martial arts. I wasn't a very sensitive person, okay? I was attacked, I was angry, I was pissed off at the world, Jack. I was running around, like I told you the other day. I was looking for the death touch, man. I wanted to learn how to touch people and kill them. I was messed up because I was so angry, and a lot of us face these kinds of things. Thank God I ran into this Kung Fu master who helped me, helped heal me, and turned me from the death touch to the healing hand. And now I'm a medical Qigong practitioner. I work with the healing with my students. We teach that because healing is love. That's the key thing. I got into martial arts because of the fear, because of the anger, but it turned it into the love, you know. And I learned that from the part of the connectivity. And finally, creativity. That inner intuition, that thing that teaches you how to, like, wow, where did it come from? I'm sure, like, these sparks, I've had them through my life, and I start listening to them and following them, and the more sensitive I become to them, you start to create this new knowledge. So creativity, connectivity, adaptability, survival, come at life from the high performance zone. That's what my book's about.
Now, you shared a story with me yesterday that I love. I'm going to ask you to share it again, because you talked about being in the present moment, not being in your head.
Yes.
And you talked about when you first got a major lesson in that.
Oh,
You'd
man.
be willing to share that?
Yeah, for sure. Because, okay, so let me paint the picture for you guys.
Okay.
All right, so I'm getting ready to go meet this master, the guy I told you about, who trained the Navy SEALs and who was Bruce Lee's representative, who passed this art on to me. So for 6 months, I worked out every day. I ran 3 miles. I lifted weights. I hit the heavy bags. Like, oh man, I'm going to show up there and I'm going to show him. I want to be selected. I want to be the man. I want to be the guy. So I show up there, I'm ready to go. All weekend is going along. I'm sizing up all the guys around, the big dudes in the corner, some of the long, lanky guys, some of the grapplers, whatever I'm sizing up. Like, okay, I got you. I'm ready for you guys. But all weekend long, in the corner, there was this old Japanese man sitting there. He was maybe 67 years old. Okay, he had this long silver hair like a samurai tied in a ponytail. But he wasn't sitting like samurai. He was sitting in the corner, like, slouched over. When he would stand, his knee was all bum. He would kind of like walk like this. He always had this smile. So I didn't know. I thought he was one of my teacher's friends or something like that, or some old master just sitting there observing the class. I just didn't know. At the end of the training, that was the sparring. At the end of everything was, because you have to make it real. Oftentimes in martial art, people punch and hold a punch back, but if you've never been punched in the face, like Mike Tyson said, everybody's got a plan till they get punched in the face, So it's the reality. So we get into that, the sparring match. So I'm getting ready, he calls me up, I'm last. He saved me for last. So I was like, okay, is it that guy? Is it that guy? Is it the big guy? Which one? I'm sizing them up, and then I get ready, and then he goes, Paulie, come on up. Paulie Yamamoto, come on up. And I look onto the corner, and there's this older gentleman gets up, gets out of the seat, and all of a sudden, this crippled-looking guy all weekend long was limping, just straightened up. Whoops, my mic. Straightened up. He straightened up and postured up. I was like, what's happening here? And then I was thinking to myself, see, that's the thing. I started to think. I was like, wait, what's happening here? You want me to hit this old man? I mean, you want me to seriously hit this old man? So that was the first thought process that already started. Teacher said, go. Boom! Instantly, this guy just cracks me in the face. I'm like, okay, you just hit me in the face. Am I supposed to hit you? And then I'm thinking, that teacher's watching me. I don't want to get embarrassed. All these other guys are watching me. Once again, this internal dialogue, this conversation starts. Boom, I get hit again. Now I'm starting to get mad. I'm like, this old man, he's starting to hit me. I'm like, what's happening here? I'm starting to get embarrassed. Okay, he hits me a third time. After he hits me a third time, I just lose it. I get crazy, I'll chase him down everywhere. Now I'm starting to get tired. And all of a sudden, just this little, I still remember that crooked smile. It just smiled. I was like, hee, 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 hee. And he literally was like, hee, 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 pointing and laughing at me, right? Got me even more angry. Now, I've completely lost it. I have no control. I don't know where I am. I have tunnel vision. I've lost sight of my breathing. I've lost sight of the moment. I'm not in the zone anymore. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm getting embarrassed. This old man's kicking my ass. What's the teacher gonna think? What should I do next? So definitely, I'm not there. And then finally, thank God, the teacher called quit. Now when he called quit, I'm trying to pretend like I'm not tired, so I hold my breath. I'm holding my breath, I'm sitting there. I'm looking over the old man, he's just relaxed, smiling at everybody like I was nothing, I was walking apart. Finally, I let it out and I'm all over the place. Everybody starts laughing, the teacher starts laughing. And then I went and asked him, I said, what happened here? I said, what happened here? And he said, it's time. It's your perception of time. It's how the moment that you're in, it's all about the moment. He said, in this moment, you were thinking, you weren't here. So time for you sped up. You weren't aware of your breathing. And he said, for him, he didn't care. He was having fun. Time for him slowed down. I said, I was just mind blown. I was mind blown because, we grow up thinking, okay, when you get hit 40, and I was maybe 25, 26, 27 at that time, I'm 38 now, and I was thinking, when you're over 40, there's no man over 40 that could really do something, let alone over 50, let alone over 60, because that mentality, right? Play basketball, football, nobody does that. I was in Kung Fu, these guys are kicking my ass. Now they're 80, it's still kicking my ass. So they're getting better and their perception of time changes. So there's just this amazing phenomenon that I was just blown away. And that day I discovered the cause of my own ignorance.
That's really good. That's such a powerful lesson for all of us, because mindfulness is about being in the present moment.
Yes.
And then when you're in the present moment, all your resources are available to you.
Yeah.
And when you're up in your head thinking about what's going to happen, I was reading your book, thinking about victory.
Yes.
You talk about, I don't know if you can remember this without looking at your book, but you talk about 5 distractions.
Yes.
that take people out of the present moment. One of them was like focusing on winning.
Yes.
I thought that was really interesting. Instead of just being in the moment.
Absolutely.
Being present. I love that. As a lead into the next question, I want to ask you, I'm not sure I know the right term. There's a term in the martial arts where you're being attacked by a lot of people. I think it's like rondo or something like that.
Okay.
And my wife was in a workshop with a guy who studies martial arts, and they had this exercise where people are coming at her from all different directions at once, and they're saying negative things.
Yes.
And she has to maintain her center and redirect their energy, kind of in an Aikido kind of way. So you talk about crisis management.
Yes.
And because there's a lot of crises that happen in our lives, whether we're losing our job, someone attacks us in a meeting, whatever. Talk about crisis management and how you help people be effective in those moments.
So crisis management has 2 aspects to it in my perspective. One of them is how to deal with the crisis during the moment, and the other is the state you're in before you get into the moment itself. Mm-hmm. When you're in the moment, so let's say, pardon my French, people say shit hits the fan, your heart starts to beat, and everything's going crazy around you. You've got to slow down. That's the first thing. You got to remember that when your body gets tense, you're in a tense situation, you're going to start to contract your muscles. You're going to start to restrict your breathing. You're going to create this other tension that's going to stop your creativity, your connectivity, your ability to adapt. So the first thing that you've got to know is you've got to breathe and bring yourself down, because when crisis comes up, what happens? We get amped up. And we get amped up, that's when we make mistakes. That's when the crisis furthers for us. So the number one thing in a crisis, we have to learn to slow down. Mm-hmm. A lot of people look at Tai Chi and they see these beautiful, slow movements, somebody's moving. They're like, oh, you can't use that for fighting. Yeah, at that speed, you don't use it for fighting. But they move so slow because they know the adrenaline during the fight will speed that move up on its own. So the perception of time, they're still moving slow. So that's the idea of the combat part behind it. So going slow is the most important thing. Center back to your breathing, because your breathing puts you in the moment and starts to bring you down. Now the other piece of this is we say a fight is win or loss before you leave your house. Before you leave your house in the morning, a fight is win or loss. Because that means, do I wake up in the morning? Am I running late? I slam my alarm clock, pound some coffee, run out the door. I'm like, oh my God. Imagine this Jack Canfield interview this morning. I get up, oh, it's at 11 o'clock. I get up at 10 o'clock. Oh God, I get over there. When's the guy getting me? I get a drink of coffee. Now I'm even more amped up. How am I gonna be late? Maybe we get in a car accident. I gotta get there. Interview, we get in all these kinds of things and we start to become our own enemies. So that version of me showing up and sitting here would be like, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm worried about being late as opposed to being here connecting to you. Similarly, like in anything we do. So that's the most important thing, is the state that we leave our house in. You can be either in a state of rushing, or you could be in a state of nice and slow and smooth. Every master I ever met was never late. They were always on time, but they were never rushing. They were just there. They would just show up. So what I suggest, for example, is you wake up earlier. You get up earlier, you break a sweat. You break a sweat. Why do you want to break a sweat? Because you want to release the endorphins in your body. Serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine. Those releases in your brain, the chemical releases to make you, whoa, feel so good. Now, okay, that's great. Now take that feeling, go into mind boxing, go into meditation, your mindfulness, whatever you like to practice. Now take that feeling into that. Now, from there, bring that feeling back out. Now you're going to feel this totally different thing. This feeling, then you got to eat. It's such a simple, important thing, your physiology. You got to eat. You got to drink some water. And the most important, you got to go to the bathroom. It's a simple thing, right? People laugh at it, but if that process isn't there, your body is not balanced. Your mind is not balanced. So when you walk out the door, are you walking out the door, I'm ready for you, world? Or are you walking out the door, oh man, I got to get there.
Now you see these commercials where the guy's running out the door, putting his hand in his sleeve, briefcase is hanging, he's got a cup of coffee in his hand, it's spilling out. You know, it's interesting what you say about the ability to freak yourself out. I was in Hawaii with my kids who at the time were 12. My stepson and my son are about the same age. And we were on a snorkel boat.
Okay.
We're out snorkeling and I see this turtle. My kids are with me, and so we're chasing this turtle from above, you know, just following it, following it, following it, following it. All of a sudden, I figure, well, we better get back to the boat. I turn around, the boat's like this little thumbnail in the distant future, you know. And we start swimming in, and we've gotten caught in a riptide, and we're not getting any closer. And my heart starts beating a little bit. And then I'm thinking, my wife's going to kill me. Well, I'll be dead anyway. But if I lose the kid when I get home, you know, thinking all these thoughts, you know, and making myself crazy. And then I remember, you know, because I know a little bit about this stuff. So I say, stop, slow down, breathe, calm yourself down, tell the kids are going to be okay. And then it all turned out. Someone realized we were missing, and someone came out with a surfboard. But I watched myself, like people that scare yourself to death kind of thing, you know?
Yes.
And everyone always says, slow down, man, take a breath, take a breath. You know, that really is what needs to happen. So in your book that I was reading, I loved, you talk about meditation, and you talk about why people fail often at meditation. Talk about that.
So I think one of the things is the expectation is not correct. Meditation is amazing. The power behind it is amazing. But there's a couple things that in our lives that we live in today don't kind of mesh. For example, a lot of people get turned off from meditation because they think they have to do like 30 minutes or they have to do an hour and so on. But really, if you think about it, if you can focus for 5 minutes, but really focus. Put all your focus just for 5 minutes. Instead of 30 minutes sitting there, when's this going to end? Oh my God, this is horrible. See, those thoughts kind of start to come. So people sit down for meditation. The idea is to not think, and then you start to think, and then you're thinking about thinking, and you've already lost. In mind boxing, what we do is we keep the rounds, like a boxing match, to less than 5 minutes. Mm-hmm. Then even the 5 minutes, when you're brand new in the progression, I want you focusing for 60 seconds. And 5 rounds of 60 seconds. So that's 5 minutes. But of real focus, and I give you something to focus on. It's very important because, you know, we, as we all know, and as you know in all your books, obsessive thinking is a disease. People have this because your mind is not at ease and it's in a state of dis-ease, and that's how everything gets started. So people start to think and they can't get in the moment right, because it takes too long for them. The methods sometimes that they're learning have been passed down to them from like a yogi or a monk, or somebody who lives off in seclusion, lives a very different kind of a life. Mm-hmm. Now they're living and doing their thing. That's an apple. You're an orange. You can absorb this idea of where they're at and this enlightenment that they've reached. But for us to go from here to the top of the mountain, how they got there, it's not going to be the same path because we didn't leave our family, we didn't leave our responsibility, we didn't go that route. We didn't choose that route to go. There's nothing wrong. It's not the point. It's A or B, apples or oranges. So that's their way to enlightenment. But they've brought us back some amazing things. Now, I've learned from that, and that's the route I took. But it took very long. In Kung Fu, they say, it's eat the bitter. Stand and eat the bitter. Man, stand for 3 hours and eat the bitter. And the teacher's watching you, he's doing it, you're trying to impress him. They vet it out. But how many people are going to do that? So with mind boxing, I really wanted to bring a method to bring those teachings down so that people could utilize them in 5 minutes a day and do rounds like that. And then if you got better, we suggest to try to do 5 times 5 minutes a day instead of a 30-minute session, because now you're recalibrating yourself throughout the day. Mm-hmm. You didn't lose the track of it. And it's so simple. How can you not do this? If you're in office, you could go to your car. If you're in the morning, you can do it in your shower. If you're in a business meeting, you could step out for 5 minutes, pretend to make a conference call and go do this and come back re-energized. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the key thing, is the expectation's not correct. People want to get to this end destination. A good analogy is kind of like if you came to me, Jack, and you didn't have any boxing experience, and I gave you a 1 hour lesson on a jab, cross, hook, uppercut, and overhand, and tomorrow you came back for your lesson, I put you in the ring with Mike Tyson, right? That's the idea. People tell you, quiet your mind, focus on your breath, and you're like, and you will be in this place, this zone, the high performance zone, the moment. But that takes a lot of hard work to get there. It just can't happen. Mm-hmm. It's simple like that, just like a jab, cross, hook, uppercut. It's simple. We just have to have the correct expectation.
Yeah. Well, Mike Tyson comes running out of the corner at you anyway and scares the hell out of you. So you instantly go, "Wah!"
Exactly.
You're dead.
Exactly.
Like you with your Japanese friend there. Very funny. So mind boxing, winning the war within, it's about self-mastery.
Yes.
And you talk about 3 doors to self-mastery. Talk
Absolutely.
about that, please.
I think the key thing is when we look at mindfulness, or we come from a perspective of the idea of meditation, recalibration, whatever you want to call it, the body is oftentimes left out. So the first door is the physical door. The physical door is the body. There's actually a feeling of strength, of created strength, I call it. It means, like, let's say today I do 50 push-ups, tomorrow I do 100 push-ups. I created that 50% difference. That wasn't there before through my training. Mm-hmm. So I'm creating my body. That's the idea we have to get into, that you're evolving it, you're creating it, and through repetitions, you can monitor that. So the physical is very important. So you have to have a routine to develop yourself physically. And in mind boxing, I outline 2 ancient exercises. They're 3,000 years old. They were actually mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. They're from India. They're called the Danda and the Batak. Simple, anybody can do it. I have 67, 75, 80-year-olds doing it. I have 2, 3, 4-year-olds doing it. I have military Navy SEALs doing it. 2 exercises, all it takes, less than 15 minutes. And then with that, I combine very simple Tai Chi motions that create the fluidity in the body. Mm-hmm. Get the joints feeling good, making sure that the energy is flowing right, like, you're greasing it. Like if in your car, you have to have oil. So that physicality. So what's the real deal with physicalness? You can't be in pain. I don't want you to be in pain. I don't want you to be limited in your movement. If my back's hurting, I can't play with my kid. If my knee's hurting, I can't dance with my wife. Oh man, I lost 2 amazing moments that could have been stored because it's stopping me. And when you're living in pain, how are you going to get into mindfulness if you're always in pain? Because you're physically weak. Then the next part is you have to kill that voice inside and quiet the mind. But when we quiet the mind, what ends up happening is if we stay in that state long enough, emotions start to come up, and that's when people quit. They're like, oh, we're not doing this anymore. Because all these emotions they've been stuffing, all these past traumas they've been stuffing start to come up. And that's a natural, awesome process, so we can process them. So I provide traditional Chinese method to process those emotions using breathing, color visualization, and healing sounds to target each of the individual organs that house the emotions. And then finally, when you have balanced your body, you've balanced you've quieted your mind, and you have, recalibrated your emotions. Now you can unleash what's inside. Now now we walk through the spiritual door, and now that's your unlimited potential. That honest expression of yourself, that who are you really, man, without lying. Let's take it all away and let's just be you and do you. That's the most coolest feeling I think I've ever felt. It's really liberating.
Very cool. Now I know you wanted to do a demonstration with one of your teachers. You have let's calibrate that correctly. You have 55 schools, I think, around the country that you've created from the Bruce Lee tradition and whatever else you've managed to put into there.
Yes, sir.
And so set that up first, and then we'll do it.
Absolutely. I have, like I said, we have over 55 schools in the Jeet Kune Do Athletic Association. Mm-hmm. Jeet Kune Do is Bruce Lee's martial arts, called the Way of the Intercepting Fist, and we're all across the United States in 7 countries and continents, and that's what we set up. And I train instructors who run schools, and Brian Olson is going to come out and demonstrate.
He's one of your instructors.
He's one of my instructors.
Very good.
And what we'd like to show you is actually how I put people in the high performance zone so you could really see it.
Cool.
And how we can really channel that, and show you a few drills I do with the SEALs.
Okay.
And then give you, right after that, a little demonstration of channeling all of your human potential into an inch.
Okay. Good. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, I'd like to share with you guys a drill just to show you how I put people in the high performance zone, showing you how if you insert a little element of danger, your heart starts to beat a little bit so you can recreate it. And this is what I use with the Navy SEALs, Secret Service, law enforcement, and my martial arts instructors to put them in the zone. And I wanted to give you a couple demonstrations so you can see it. I'd like to call out Brian Olson. Brian Olson is one of my instructors. He teaches in Laguna Beach. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull out this live blade over here, and I'm going to show you a drill that I do with my instructors. You can watch and you'll see what we're trying to do here. Nice and slow. So as you can see, I just start to feed him. Now I'm not going to start to feed him in any given real pattern. Watch your bumps. Watch your eyes. Good boy. Good job. So you can see that in that thing, there's no time for him to think. There's only time for him to be and act and truly flow like water and adapt to the situation. So that's one option of the adaptability part. The next part is connectivity. Bring the books, please. So I'm sure you've heard of the 1-inch punch, Bruce Lee's famous 1-inch punch. Now with the 1-inch punch, the key thing, you can stand here for a second, the key thing is it's taking all of your human potential, putting into 1 inch. The only way you could do that is if you're not thinking. So I want to show you how much power you could generate from 1 inch away. Okay, he's going to use a phone book for his protection. Okay, so as you can see, we're here. The 1-inch punch is all about alignment. I want to recruit all 200 muscles in my body, all of the muscle fascia, all of my tendons, my energy, my focus, and most importantly, my spirit. So from this 1 inch away, I can cause the damage. Okay, most people think you have to pull away. So there's a lot of power. You okay, sir? There's a lot of power that can be generated, as you can see, from 1 inch away. And it comes through the ground. That's the connectivity, how you connect your whole body, mind, and spirit. Can I borrow a phone book there? Thank you, sir. And you can. So another thing that we can do here, I have a phone book. Now, the phone book, with the phone book, what's the thing? It's human potential again. It's human potential, putting it into one moment. It's the whole thing. There's really no effort. Anybody can tear the book, but you got to tear the seam. And as we can see, you're limitless. You can do anything you want to do. If you can put yourself in the high performance zone, if you can quiet your mind, if you can connect your body, you can let it out. Now, if I can put that into 1 inch as a demonstration, imagine that 1 inch you could put into your life.
Well, that was very impressive. I have to say. I'd seen Bruce Lee do the 1 inch thing. I'd never seen anyone else do it, but the amount of force that was generated. And I think, again, it's easy to look at that and be impressed by the martial arts aspect of it, but I think for most of our viewers, the more important part is the ability to achieve a result that's unexpected, that's powerful in any area of your life when you're able to marshal that level of focus, that level of unobstructed energetic flow, to put it in a better way. I don't know how you would summarize it.
No, that was perfect.
Anything else you would love to say to people?
I think that the key thing is, it's really easy to come up here and show you some cool stuff and all that kind of stuff, but being in the moment, these are demonstrations. Oftentimes we can get in the moment, maybe in a meditation session or while we're painting or something like that. But I think the key thing should be, can we be in that out all the time, 24/7? I think that's the thing. If we strive for, not meditation as this idea of 5 minutes when I have my peace and time, or 30 minutes or whatever. Instead, it's a transformational vehicle for you to actually, once you've experienced that moment in short bursts, to then flip the script. Why 5 minutes a day only? Why should I feel like I'm feeling amazing right now? Why should I not feel like this all day long? I think if we strive for that, it'll make it much easier for people to put the time and effort in to work on themselves.
Good. My wife has a meditation teacher. He teaches Tibetan Buddhist meditation. And I asked him once, I said, so how long do you meditate every day? He says, all day long.
Yeah.
He said, I'm never not in a state of meditation.
Yeah.
So that's the place we all want to get to, where we're just totally present. Wonderful.
And you're free.
Yeah. Great.
Look
Look at the smile on his face. That's what we all want to be experiencing.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful. So you have this book. You have your schools. If people want to find out more about you, your book, your schools, where do they go?
For my schools, they can go to jkdathletics.com.
jkdathletics.com.
jkdathletics.com. For the book, it's Mind Boxing, Win the War Within, but the website is mindboxing.com. And if people would like to have any private training and the things that I offer, the programs for them, I have bodymindmaster.com.
bodymindmaster.com.
Yeah.
I think you've earned the right to have that URL. I'm very impressed. Thank you, Harinder, for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Very much.
Honor was all mine.
All right. I wish we had all day to do this. We don't, unfortunately. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this message.